I wouldn't penalize you for it. Remember what I said now, it's not just the cases. It's whether you answer what you say, if it makes sense. That's how you'll get your points.
So it makes sense without the cases, I get points.
If the cases that you could have used is not on the sheet, yes. You got it? Yeah. So stop stressing.
Bruce, like an highlight situation. Bruce is not worried because Bruce know he got that A.
So that's fine.
Like your conflict.
Huh?
Like your
All right. So let's do a recap of chapter 4. Because when you do the final, even though it's not on chapter 4 is a part of everything we do, going to the very end. So we have a bank. And we have its customer. Now,
Y'all got A's, okay? Everyone passed.
We got it back.
No.
all right, so let's go. Let me get 2 men. One on either side. You can get a friend. Yes, get a friend. Let's go. Yes.
I can put
So
mine.
she needs to call so that's the for you.
Okay.
Let's go.
That's the customer.
What one of you all be his buddy?
That's customer.
That's the customer, that's the bank. What are the rights and what are the duties? Go. Let's go.
Hey, this marker here. This marker dry.
That one dry, make sure of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Come on. No, don't try it. She can help you.
Say get a partner.
I'm inside the book.
What you say, what? That is not in the book?
I say, and it's in the book.
Yeah, but I want it on the head.
I don't remember it.
Help him. He needs some help.
Chapter that is. What is it?
Four.
So these books about what? The customer?
The customer, help him. Remember now, these rights of the banks and those duties, they're all embedded in the contract when you open an account.
Touch and agree.
Let me see.
So when you write these, remember, when you sign an account opening, these are all there. They're embedded in it.
That's the rights.
Are you helping?
No, that's duties, sorry.
Need to make it this later.
Reasonable charges for service rendered. Customer. To advise the bank. For duties.
What do you mean?
To advise the bank
I think this
of any, just put advise bank
Yeah.
It's forgeries.
of any known forgeries.
What are you talking about?
No, we're talking about the rights.
No one helping you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Help him.
exercise. That's supposed to be
Repayment for the rights. You have repayment of funds. Deposit on demand. You have that right?
Chapter 4.
Okay. To have the bank discharge its duties to customers.
You help him.
You sure I'm the right? That's not like a
You can't do it, right? She's on. If you need to take it high, you can take it high, you know.
That's a.
Oh, when you restart now. Let's see the bank.
What the second one is?
Me?
No.
Owen.
What it is, the first word?
No,
The?
that's an error.
Oh, that's erase it.
What else? Who said and write on amendments?
Exercise reasonable care.
Charge
Duties.
reasonable fee, services, exercise, and
Hey,
To exercise
then go
reasonable
to
care,
this.
enduring checks.
You sure that
Whatever.
that's
To
not
avoid fraud.
What this?
This.
I mean, no, right?
Just put exercise
that's a
care
duty.
and
Yeah,
put a
but-
dash, put fraud.
It's a thin line, you know.
Exercise
I
care,
feel like I might
dash,
be-
check, dash, fraud.
What else would do?
Advise the client of fraud.
Put check.
Advise
Put
the
check.
client of fraudulent activity. What that is?
Oh, so the,
That's a
so the,
duty.
so the
Yeah.
right.
No, the client, you know, the advice, the thing I'm ready for.
So the right is to
The
demand
bank.
payment.
The right to have.
The right is to demand payment.
Hey, who looking at that?
The right to demand.
Okay, demand payment of any.
that's duties, alright.
Or loans or.
Any borrowing.
Okay.
Need to the customer.
Repayment is, demand repayment.
Yeah.
Don't try it.
Yeah. That's it.
That we finished with the girl from Freeport.
We need 3 of
You
each.
finished?
How much? How much is
It's
it?
supposed to be 3 of each?
That's enough.
Me the next duty.
The next duty. Give notice before closing the account. That's a duty.
Reasonable notice.
Reasonable notice, right?
Yeah, reasonable.
Done, Bruce.
This one for this the one that's gone. What's the leading case? What's the leading case? For both, what's the leading case?
Jehoshaphat versus
Swiss.
versus who?
Foley versus Hill is just the debtor-creditor relationship.
Jehoiakim versus
Swiss.
Corporation.
Uh-huh. Anybody read it?
I tried.
It's online.
Tried.
1921.
Yes.
That was a question.
So what? So how many duties you have here? 1, 2, 3. What happened to the rest?
You say 3 a day?
No.
Oh.
No.
I want to
So-
walk.
Yeah.
And remember I said go up? If you needed to? Mm-mm. You see? So let's go through them one by one. Because you have to ingrain these in your head. Because for the final exam, you have scenario questions of people coming into a bank or people who are existing customers and they have issues. And so before you get to what the issue that the customer has, you have to know what are the rights and duties of a bank and what are the rights and duties of a customer. Before you even think about, okay, what is the issue? Because legally you have to know what the bank is obligated to do and what are the obligations of the client. So the first one, the duty of a bank is to receive money and deposits from the customer. Why is that a duty of a bank?
Something like that. I mean,
Why is that a duty?
Because of the debtor and creditor relationship?
Yes, number one. Next one. And the other one?
talking about.
You have to tie it in together. You agree?
What's the second thing say?
Unity versus Kirkwood,
Oh, United
would it
Dominion
design, would
Trust.
define what is a bank? That was the whole purpose of that case. To define what is a bank, and to bring it home here, we go to the definition of what is banking business in section 2 of the Act. We all agree? That's the purpose of a bank. That's how you can always distinguish a bank from any other financial institution. What's the second one you got there? What's the next duty?
Okay, oh.
Let's go in the book.
Pay in full, funds on demand, deliberate request at the home branch or any other bank.
What does that mean?
We pay the customers and buy money on demand from another instance.
The bank has a duty to pay in funds to them.
I know you have a lot of customers asking why I need to do this. Why can't they go to any branch?
Say another customer at any branch.
Yeah, based on.
Exactly.
Based on your initial contract.
Based on your contract that you entered into, use contract law now. Where did you enter into the contract? At that particular branch. So that's where you have to go. So here you use your contract law to determine that one. Okay? With the case?
Lloyd's Bank Limited
Mm-hmm.
versus DB Sovereign and Co.
So got that? Say it loud so they can hear.
Lloyd's Bank Limited versus DB Sovereign and Co.
What's the next one you have there? Reasonable notice before closing an account? Why we need to do that? Why we have to give them reasonable notice? Why can't we just close it?
Because they may have funds on the account. Wait.
Yeah, why we have to give them reasonable notice?
So they can make
Okay, well, why is it necessary?
Because they may have outstanding checks that be reconciled.
Okay, but you still ain't getting
There
it.
must be an agreement. 'Cause they signed
You go,
contract.
they sign a contract, so we go back to contract law. If you enter an agreement, you can't just abruptly just stop it. And so when you read the actual contract when you open the account, it says reasonable notice. And that reasonable notice is because you and I have entered into agreement, you just cannot stop it abruptly, because then I will sue you.
So,
Because you need to give me time to do what I need to do. That's based from contract law.
so,
Mm-hmm.
accounts are inactive when you close them, does that apply?
Accounts that are inactive and what?
Does that apply? You still have to give them notice.
You do your nose dominant.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Because don't forget, when accounts become inactive, you're supposed to run an inactive report. So year one, account is inactive, you have a duty to call them. Year two, then you keep going. And when it gets to the final year where there's the statutory requirement to remit,
Yeah.
you should have done everything that you're supposed to do.
Up to that time.
Yes. Now, if you decide not to call them, you never call them, you have the number on file, I'll sue you. Okay, what's the fourth duty?
Collect and comply with checks written.
Yes. Why you need to do that?
Doctor.
Why you have to do that?
To make sure there are no, there are adequate funds and stuff. Mean that.
No.
Avoid fraudulent activity.
But why is it a duty?
Because you have a relationship with the
Because
check,
of us.
holder.
You have a relationship with the
With
client,
the remitter.
and your function is to do what?
Accept them.
Banking business. So that's the whole nature of your contract. If the essence of your contract was you're supposed to build this building, isn't that what I expect you to do? So the nature of your business with me is I have a savings account. So you expect me to come, deposit, withdraw when necessary. If I have a checking account, What I expect from you? I write checks and you do what? You process it if I have sufficient funds. And what's the next one? This says 5, there's 7.
Confidentiality.
No, before we go to that one. Repay the customer's entire money on demand.
We did that already.
You did demand?
Reasonable notice before.
No, let's go number 6.
So number 5,
Provide a statement
Mm-hmm.
periodically.
or duty of confidentiality.
No, we can lift and leave that one for last.
Okay.
So statement on account to the customer periodically and upon request. What about that one?
Hold on, read here.
What?
Based on the clients is every day.
Hmm? You what?
Some clients all the time when they are obligated to check their statements.
Yes.
But does some say that?
No. Common law says that the customer doesn't have to check his statements. This is what this case here determined tying. But over time, because of losses, banks have embedded it in their contracts when you open it, which states that if you don't check it within 30 days,
That's on you.
don't come back and get the money. Again, it comes back to contract law.
Okay.
Because
so-
this here, this is a duty, right? But they put it in your terms and conditions.
Okay, so since it's in the terms and conditions, so we go back to that, because we use case laws for if a client was to sue.
Mhm.
So what is
Then what they would do is they would start with the principle of tying, and then they would give you other cases over time that would have changed.
Okay.
And like I keep telling you, the documents that we use for the Canadian banks are based on Canadian law. So all you need is someone to sue in a local court and see whether or not that is the practice here in the Bahamas. And if it's not a practice, then the bank will lose. But Bahamians don't sue. Exercise proper skill and care in carrying out the customer's instructions. Why do you think we need this one? Exercise.
You don't want to do the wrong thing. You don't want to make any errors.
You don't want to count.
You don't want to debit the wrong account or credit the wrong account.
You don't wanna put the money to
Just put
risk.
in the bank account.
Risk.
Exactly.
The
Again,
reputational
I want you to think contract law. I've entered into an agreement with you. You are a bank. You're telling me you have a license to do banking business, which means you have the people with the requisite skills and knowledge to carry out this function you have a license for to do banking business. So you have a duty to exercise due care and skill. And if you make the wrong mistake, you posted the wrong place, and I incur a loss, I will sue you for my money and for damages and for defamation if I have to. That's why I want you to think everything is based on contract law. And you have to read the fine print. I know this be small and yours just tell people sign,
But they have a right not to sign.
but they want their account open.
I know, right?
Business, they gotta read the fine print.
All right, so then let's look at the rights of the bank. First one you have is the bank have a right to charge customers a reasonable fee. And they do that. But what trumps this?
What, the fee? I'm paying the fee?
No, they have a right to charge their customers a reasonable fee. But what trumps this? The central bank. Yeah, what section?
I see.
Price control.
No, there's no price control. There's a section.
Section 4.
No.
Section 4.
Go to chapter 1.
What section is it?
What's the section? We found it already for you. Right here.
Yeah, section 21.
You see how they all adding up together now? All the chapters? So the bank have a right to charge reasonable fees, but what does the regulator say they must do? No, what is the legislation say they must do for fees? You have to give adequate notice.
I was considered which is not
It's
a
notice.
violation.
This speaks to notice. Again, why is notice important?
Because you don't wanna do no.
Think contract.
Yeah.
You and I enter in a
sign a
contract, you're changing what I pay you.
I
So you have to
can't
give me adequate notice in order to do what?
To accommodate change.
Accommodate the change or close my account and go someplace else.
Right.
That's what notice means. You can't just say today you paying $50 and tomorrow I pay $75. You can't. You have to give adequate notice.
Once you are a customer,
You have to be a customer. This is for customers now, not walk-in one-offs. Okay, exercise the lane. Why they need to do that? What gives them?
If you don't pay, if you don't adhere to
The
The
contract.
contract.
terms of the contract,
Mhm.
you have to take with the interest, protect our interest.
Yeah, we have the right to recover funds. like-
Funds from an account, which is in credit, to put it in an account, which is in debit.
would you
But
still
what
have
gives
to-
you that right?
The contract that you signed with us.
Signature.
You made an agreement to repay these funds on, within such and such a time. So now, you see you're neglecting to do that, but you have funds elsewhere in our bank.
What about the
The
rights to the
creditor
other
debt, the
customers?
creditor
the-
debt, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah, the other
yes.
customers who money lender.
What did these last year?
That's what,
And the terms and conditions fully versus held. Debtor-creditor relationship. When you reverse that, it gives you the automatic right. I want you to keep giving me the
The explanation.
explanation, but not the reasons why you do what you do.
So the
You see what I
reasons why
mean?
would be where these things derive from.
Where they come, yes. Why is written the way it's written? What does it mean in law? Because it's the basis upon which you make an argument.
These cases?
Hmm?
I see this value of the cases. So what if we, what if that was a
Foley
fraction,
versus,
right?
hold on. What is Foley versus Hill?
The credit- the
No,
credit-
no. Oh. What is this case about? Foley versus Hill?
that's when.
The relationship with the debt.
Debtor and creditor. So that's a relationship between the bank and the client. And whenever it's reversed, they have that right.
So if that was a question,
It won't be like that.
No, I
You'll have
know,
a
but if
client
we were
doing
to say-
something, want something.
if we were to say just debtor creditor relationship without saying that in the case that it was, that it came up in,
You lost the point.
oh,
The person who did it gets an extra point. Demand repayment of any borrowings. Demand repayment of any borrowings. What's the basis for that in law?
Same thing.
Same thing, right?
That's fine.
No, but I want the ones in the back. We getting it? Number 4, to be reimbursed by the customer for any expenses or liabilities incurred while acting for the customer. Why do they have to do that? Why do they have the right to take whatever you owe them and carry out your instructions?
would it be the same thing?
Hmm? Fully versus it? Mhm.
I say the same thing.
You see why it was important to read these things? I put reimburse.
So,
Mm-hmm.
going back to the demand payment,
Mm-hmm.
I know in here you have, so it could be Foley versus Hill or Williams and Glenn's Bank.
Williams and Glenn's Bank is a particular case.
Okay.
Where someone has an actual issue.
General.
Yeah, generally, yeah. 5, return unpaid customer check. What gives them the right to do that? What gives them the right to do that? To return unpaid checks.
Sam?
Curtis versus Livingston.
Yes? Terms and conditions. How can you write a check if you have no money? The whole purpose of writing a check is that you have money.
I think they had.
Hmm?
I hope so, you have money.
6 is to exercise the right of set off. And the last one is what? Combine accounts. And they have all. Because they try to balance this debtor versus creditor relationship. All right, let's look at the duties of a customer. To pay reasonable charges for services rendered. So over here, they have a right to charge you reasonable fees. And over here, you have a duty to pay it. So let me give you a scenario now. Let's just say for the last 6 months, the bank did not take out any fees. And now they decide today, I got paid today, they want to take out all the fees for this past 6 months. Can they do that?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't be able to.
They do it. Can they do
They
it?
shouldn't do it. They shouldn't do it. Based on that, yeah, but they shouldn't.
Yeah, because they didn't take it out when it was still almost.
For the last 6 months, the bank is not taking out its fees. It now decides today is payday. They said, I'm gonna take out all the fees you owe for the past 6 months in one lump sum. Put them all in, item by item.
They
Take
can't
them
do
out all
that.
one time.
They can't do that.
They do it.
They shouldn't do that.
Comes to the terms and condition. And a lot of Bahamians don't read
What are
the
the
fine
terms and
print.
conditions for that?
You have to look at the fine print and see if it says that reasonable expenses will be charged monthly.
Monthly, so.
No,
you
I'm
want-
saying if it says that in the
Oh,
fine print.
oh.
Then
If
you
it says
can't
that,
do
they
it.
cannot take it all at one time because it
No,
is,
don't say monthly.
because it's on you, the bank, for not doing your due diligence to make sure that you charge your reasonable fees on a monthly basis. Because what's supposed to happen? At the end of the month, when the fees, let's just say I had negative $2. And at the end of the month, they look at my charges and my charges is a plus 10. So when I get paid the following month, what should be in there? $8. So when I get paid my $200, what's supposed to happen the first thing? Take it out.
192.
You're supposed to take it out. They didn't. So that means that this function here was not working. So tell me how you coming now to charge me all in one lump sum?
It's just like how you try me and write this check and I have no money on your account. I could charge you.
But they're two different, they're totally different.
I just say that's what.
Yeah,
that's
but it's
what
totally
you look at.
different. It's totally different. You have a right to charge me a reasonable fee. That's one thing.
Anyhow.
That's just charging me a fee. I have a duty to pay you. But when you look at the terms and conditions, when should you have charged me for those fees?
One time.
On time. Monthly. Or quarterly.
You know, say
Then it was reasonable. Is that reasonable?
6 months.
No.
No, that is not reasonable. No.
2 months in here is no.
No. Depends on what you're taking out. So after 6 months you take out $500 in fees. Does that sound reasonable to you?
So just need to look at your statement.
Exactly.
There's an error.
So this client is complaining, this customer is complaining that that is red money. And the bank is refusing to reverse it. Saying that is what you owe.
You went out to the club last night.
You see what I mean? So what's the next duty you have here? To advise bank of any known forgeries. Why? Why you need to tell them that? That you know that some of your checks were forged.
They could stop payment.
I hear it. What you say?
Stop payment.
Yeah, but it's more than that.
So we show
It's not payment and they projecting me and the customer.
Exactly. Because if you don't know if it's known forgery that goes to your account, you can't come back later after it's cleared and say, oh, it's a forgery.
Yeah,
So if you know of it up front, you need to tell them.
because the bank would have done their part.
They would have done their part. Now, let's just say you weren't aware of the forgery. But when the check went to be cleared, they didn't check the signatory listings or the signatures was off. Then you sue them here.
Man, listen. I can't drove CIBC under the bridge there.
No, but this is, no, the whole purpose of you coming here is you have to understand
But that's what it
what the bank can do and what the client can do. And that's why sometimes you see clients come to you and they're arguing because they know what their rights are.
Okay, suppose the bank system set up well. I come, alright,
Which one are you? You the bank?
no, as a customer.
Uh-huh.
And I come to you, right?
You come to me, the bank.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I come to you, right?
So, that's just the bank. Go ahead, tell her.
And I say, okay, someone came to my account and came to withdraw from my account, right? And
Was
let's
the
say
check drawn by you? Or supposedly drawn by you?
supposedly drawn by
Okay,
me,
uh-huh.
and they got the funds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And let's just say their system works in a way where I don't want to use a check. Let's say you withdraw off a savings account.
Yeah, regular withdrawal.
Okay, very before you walk in.
Right, so it's set up where I process the transaction,
Who's that, huh?
yeah, the bank,
Uh-huh.
process the transaction before checking the signature.
Oh, that's, it comes to the same thing here. You had a duty.
Yeah, that's supposed to be done first.
I suppose the system is set up like that.
Well, you need to set it up that way. If it's not done automated, then you have to do it manually.
I didn't understand, yeah.
he probably, I mean, yes, you mean like the transaction is processed and then you verify the signature? It's like how the system has it lined up
The
to do.
negotiation triangle, and like that.
It like that, certain places it like that.
That's where you work.
I don't want it anymore.
But you see? You have a duty.
So what do? You check the signatures first?
Yeah.
You work the same place.
You have to check the
I would
signature.
BTC.
No, but at that point.
At that point.
Hey, I know we must use operating two different systems. This branch probably had a different system than mine.
There's only one system.
Probably.
Only one system.
Huh? Yeah.
So, about to say now, the way you were trained, you were
Yeah,
trained
probably how you
incorrectly.
were trained, because it doesn't make sense.
No, see, well, I know that from working at a previous bank that we check our signatures first. However, the way the system was set up, it just wasn't set up that way.
I would not have done it.
It was
I'm not
coming
doing nothing blindly, because that's doing something blindly. You don't think so?
I know so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
So
under
the
that.
customer got the funds who were the
No, I was saying that like that's how the system's set up, but you'd have to go behind.
But you can't do everything.
You would have to go behind after the transaction is already processed.
All right, then you're looking to get sued.
After you cash it, right?
I have to make a withdrawal from my account. You check the signature. after
No,
before.
you're looking to get sued.
Check the
You do it before. It's a before. Because you have a duty.
Your computer have a computer.
Whenever you see this word here, you see this word here, do you know what arises in law?
No, tell us.
Where it is here or here, whenever you see that word duty, whenever you say someone has a duty means that
Fiduciary duty.
it's a fiduciary duty in law. Which means these are things that you must do. And if you don't do it, you can be sued by either party. So why you think sometimes when clients come in and they start arguing? because they know what the law is.
No, they argue sometimes because they don't know.
Lack of
No, some
knowledge.
do and some don't.
They argue for lack of knowledge.
Yeah, some do, but I'm saying some do. Okay, so the duty of a customer, the next one is to exercise reasonable care in drawing checks to avoid fraud or forgery. What do you think that one is about? If you have a checkbook, you have a duty to exercise reasonable care.
Don't even know I know about.
Don't leave it lying all about, yes. I know of an instance where this lady ordered some checkbooks. She claimed that it was locked up, but the checks were being issued. The brand new checks. And then she tried to claim that the checkbooks were, that when they came, those sequence, those numbers were missing, those books were missing. Now when they come, don't they come sealed in the packet already done? Okay, so that was her first. Then she got another set of checkbooks. Again, she came and she claimed the same thing. That the numbering was not right because the checks that were issued from this new batch, they were never in her possession. That was not true. Her son was taking the checks out of the vault and issuing the checks to pay his own personal bills. And she was not aware.
This her son works there.
He lives in the same house. Her company is in her house.
She had the same duty to check her statement.
She had a duty to check her statement. No, where it is, over here. She have here, she have to advise of known fraud. She knew that this was not the first time he had done it.
Did she
She
know
knew
it
she
was
wasn't
him?
issuing them jobs.
Yes, she knew.
Also, she was.
Once you called in an investigator and you started talking to her, she began to say, my son has moved stuff before, he's done things before, but I never thought he would have got to this extent. So she knew.
She knew.
She had an idea.
Only from the first time she knew.
She knew.
No, she's one.
He didn't write one check.
My good.
He wrote checkbooks.
I have a situation.
Like
She
maybe,
made
like
up-
maybe one check, you know, you might.
One
question,
check,
but
yes.
A whole
No.
book?
Book.
Gone.
She made up
My
her signature
good son.
forgery because like we anyway like certain people who always come
Did
to
it?
our bank. No, like one line with two dots, like anyone could do that.
Not necessarily so.
What you mean?
Technique.
I could vote anyhow. I wouldn't. But it just no, seriously, it's just that easy.
Yeah, it is. What you was going to say?
You know?
I'm just going to say something.
I mean, that's for blind people.
No, some people sound like that. Some people just do this. Some people just do this.
Some people it's just do a circle with three dots in the
That's right.
It's
That's
always
still
just
hard
one
to
line.
do, you know.
No, two lines.
Because
and
if I
a
don't
dot.
loop right, that's wrong.
Yeah, but who looking to see all the loops?
John, you could practice that all night and see when that.
Commonwealth
Yeah, you can
Bank-
get it.
Commonwealth Bank, they don't play that.
Oh,
If that
yeah,
is
it
loop
is.
off, you will sign that over and over and over
I'm
again.
telling you because I
Yeah,
work
come
in
my
a
bank is that for you.
You have two IDs in front of
Listen,
you.
my
I opened this
supervisor
account when
seems
I
to
was
have me.
17.
Okay, let's go to the rights of a customer. Would you say get money on demand? Why they need to do that? We'll give them that right to get money on
Their
demand.
money.
Because that's their money. They are the creditors.
The debtor.
The debt
Foley
of
versus
credit
Hill.
Foley versus Hill.
relationship.
That's what she wanted.
That's right.
That's my money.
Foley versus Hill. That gives them that right.
It's my money and I need it now.
That's right. And I want it back the way you gave it to me.
No, that's.
I'm obligated to do that?
No.
No.
No, we just obligated to give you the amount.
Yes. So some people will argue, well, I don't want hundreds. I don't have any 20s. I don't have any 50s. I don't have any small change. But I wanted the way I gave it to you. No.
No,
I'm only obligated to you for the debt, which is the amount.
the amount.
That's it. What's the next one you have there? Bank discharges his duties to his customer.
Mm-hmm.
That's alright, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why is that important?
The relationship, Foley based on Foley versus Hill.
The bank
that's
has-
really versus Ty.
The client has this right because the bank has a
Duty.
fiduciary duty. All of these duties that a bank has, remember I told you, once you say the word duty, fiduciary comes in. And because I am a client, you have to discharge your duties to me. What's the next one? A right to have funds deposited. Appropriate to a specific account to cover checks for customer wants to pay. If the customer does not allocate where the payment in the account or credit is to be made, then the bank can appropriate. What does that mean? That's the right of a customer.
See, look,
34.
number
The
3.
customer has a right, yes, to have the funds deposited, appropriated to a specified account to cover checks the customer wants to pay.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
What about it?
I don't know what to do with him, you know.
That's what it is.
Something wrong with him, you know.
Yeah.
So now let's go back now to the last duty of a bank. Right here.
To combine accounts.
This one here. One more duty.
Oh, the one we didn't do?
Yes.
Okay.
The next chapter. Duty of confidentiality. What is that about? What is this duty of confidentiality that a bank has to its customer?
There's a whole
But we
chapter.
can't give out information.
Keep the client's information secret
Mm-hmm.
to an extent.
To an extent. So what does that mean, to an extent?
Only when necessary.
Certain scenarios, the information is required to be.
So chapter 4 gives us the scenarios. What are the scenarios?
Oh,
Anti-money
Done with
laundering.
legal, by
public's interest, vice
simple,
interest.
when it's a simple form release,
What?
if the law is involved.
The duty of confidentiality is first found in common law. And the common law case is Turnier,
Tony, I'm sorry, just
Mhm.
not-
which you must read. The Bahamas, in turn, enshrined it in law. Section
Oh, sorry, what?
This is the common law case of Turnier, which you must read,
Oh,
because it speaks about confidentiality and the duty of a bank to keep the client's information confidential. In the Bahamas, we've enshrined that in law. What's the section?
17.
Mm-mm. 19. So what happened in the case of Turnier? So this is the case that established the duty of confidentiality that a bank has to its client. Who read it?
I read it.
Okay. What did it say?
I mean, the case itself,
The case.
not the chapter.
It's in the chapter.
I can tell you
It
where
is?
it's
I wrote it out for you.
I remember, when I read that like the first week.
Yes. The bank owed its customer a legal and not merely a moral duty of confidentiality. Turnier was about £10 overdrawn on his bank account. It's right in the book. Page 40 at the bottom.
He had 10 pounds overdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to pay it £1 a piece or something.
That's right.
And then, I guess because he didn't, they were trying to find his address and stuff like that.
That's right.
And they gave him they gave the persons who were contacting all of his address, all these heavy. And all that
All
stuff.
his personal business, like a typical Bahamian.
So in turn, he sued them for breach of confidentiality.
That's right.
You can't give out information like that.
Mm-hmm. But they were trying to get their money back. And that, huh? Say what?
No, I just read my song.
You just read it just now.
That's a nice case, though.
But it's the common law case.
But suppose that was the law. But suppose that was. How would I say? Suppose he was engaged in suspicious activity.
Then it will fall in one of the exceptions. And that's what this case brought out, that there are exceptions to this duty. Uh-huh. And what are the 4 exceptions? There are 4 exceptions. A bank has a duty of confidentiality to its customer, but there are 4 exceptions.
Compulsion of law.
Compulsion of law, what does that mean? What does it mean by compulsion of law?
The law puts pressure on you to do it, or they
Yeah.
demand that you do it.
If your bank, if your
If you're
banking
ordered to.
information is.
If you're
needed in
ordered to.
case, yeah.
So this is by the AG's office for money laundering. What else? If there's a garnishee order,
Yeah.
if you, let's say if the court says you have to pay child support and it's coming out of your wages, it comes from compulsion of law.
Oh, say what? Anyhow.
Yeah. We have to get
It
this
sounds like
on.
this is very sensitive to the radio.
No.
We have to get that very soon.
No, but I mean, let's say someone refuses to pay child support. The bank has a right to turn it over to the, I guess, to the rep. And automatic, that's the money coming into your account.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why so much people ducking child support?
Because it's not done that way.
I've known it to happen.
It happens. You can do it that way.
It happens.
Where I garnish your salary.
It happens for.
When you get paid, or whenever you go to work,
the bank, it
the
happens
court
all
will
the
send
time.
the information to the bank and say, this is the amount that you have to pay, and this is where it's to be deposited.
So suppose someone say, okay, your worship, I can't afford it.
No, you have
No,
to
we don't want
provide
that way.
proof then
Proof.
of your expenses and your salary and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff.
With the pay slip and all of that.
Uh-huh.
Everything.
Yes.
You have to be detailed.
I
And
mean,
then,
it don't
and
apply to
then,
me.
no, but then if she turns around and says, that is incorrect, because you also get money because you do a night job too,
Uh-huh.
you'll have to provide that.
Yep.
Okay? And then this is what gives the banks the right to file with the FIU when there is a suspicious transaction, because it falls under compulsion of law. And this here is when the AG's office sends an order to say that there's suspicion of money laundering. And they have that right to send that to the bank for them to go and find out whether or not there is any suspicion or there's any information that they need. And it gives the bank the right to print off all your statements and send it to the AG's office. And it also gives here the bank the right to print all your statements and send it to the FIU or to the police. Without you knowing. They have the authority to do that. What's the second one?
Public's interest.
In the public interest, what does that mean?
I could go on and on with terrorism.
Yes, if they believe that the activities in your account is to the detriment of the whole society, they can disclose it. What's the third exception?
Banks and banking.
Bank's interest.
Okay. In the bank's interest, what does that mean?
Well, if it's suspected,
If their reputation is at risk.
Yes. If the bank think that what is going on is better, is best if they advise it first, they will do it, because it's in their interest.
okay.
And what's the last one?
Disclosure with the customer's express or implied consent. Power of attorney and third party.
Okay. So here, you notice what the banks did in the last, is it 10 years? They've changed all of the account opening documents, whereby whenever they have contracts with, you just said it, third parties, whomever they may be,
They have a listing.
in your contract, when you become a customer, you actually give them the express authority to divulge all of your information automatically when you open the account. So they don't have to worry about this part here of implied, because you automatically give them express consent when you open an account. Before, this wasn't there at all, so they had to work on implied. And implied means looking at the actions of the client and whether or not, based upon the pattern of the client, then you decide whether or not the client was more or less inferring that yes, I'm interested in this, you can divulge it. So they got rid of this, and they still say express implied, but everything now is just express, so it's clear cut. And there's no arguments. So then again, I say when you enter into a contract, you have to read all of the fine print. And I know they normally don't allow you to take the account opening documents out. So Raj, I'd sit there and I would read it. Because what they're going to do is, as time go on and on and on, they're going to change these rights to be in their favor. And if you don't read it, then when you come to what your duties are and your rights, you won't be able to sue. Yeah, I mean, y'all don't sue now. That's the same thing. Yes. So in chapter 5, I've given you some cases that you need to read. There's always a question on the final exam.
Chapter 5 or chapter 4?
What chapter this is?
Chapter 4.
This is chapter 5.
Okay?
Yes, chapter 5.
The confidentiality.
Duty of confidentiality. Yes. Chapter 5, it gives you the cases to go with each one.
This is a long chapter.
Because I have titled the cases for you. So it's taking the scene.
So the C is the some cases you type them here.
Some of them are
They
there.
kind of there. Lots of them is like-
You right? So, the question now comes, go to page 44. I think it's 44. The preservation of confidentiality. As you know, this is one of the main issues we have in the Bahamas today. And other offshore, preservation of confidentiality. What does that mean today? What does that mean? I hear him saying mumbling something in the back there. What is that?
What does that mean?
Changing my voice. I talk to business.
That's to make sure that people keep the duty of confidentiality.
Integrity.
Make sure that
There are two aspects to this. From a domestic aspect, what is this preservation of confidentiality?
trying to ensure that the bank keeps up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Clients, with his employees.
Domestically, this duty, if you breach it, there's a fine. What's the fine?
$25,000.
Okay. The second thing is the Data Protection Act also seeks to preserve your duty of confidentiality.
How? Because that needs to be amended.
Hmm? That need to be what?
Amended. Or what you call it?
It's in the process.
Because that's a very old act.
Yeah, it's in the process. They're making changes. Because, you know, the EU just changed theirs.
Very loopholes in that.
Yeah, so they have to change it. I remember now, whenever you see legislation change, the change isn't just based on, it's old. Everything is based on practice and what's international best practice.
But that's under that though. They have international.
Mm-hmm, yeah, but they already made an announcement last year that they had to make changes. So there are changes to be made. And what's the other legislation that falls under this duty of confidentiality? One more. The Computer Misuse Act. So domestically, we are focused and we are aware of our duty of confidentiality and seeking to preserve it because, of course, you can be fined if you breach it under any one of these legislation. This one here is the BTCRA, Section 19, the Data Protection Act, and the Computer Misuse Act. So internationally, how do we preserve confidentiality?
Wouldn't be the same thing.
Hmm?
It wouldn't be the same.
The preservation of confidentiality internationally for countries like the Bahamas is termed eroding.
No. So,
Do you know why?
No.
See it on the CRS.
I still trying to put it together. That's the action task. What it is?
Financial action.
Financial action task.
No, FATCA,
Factors with the
US.
So okay, explain.
Both of these,
I'm not sure what's in it.
common reporting standards.
Okay.
Both of these require the Bahamas to disclose balances on their clients' accounts if they meet a certain threshold.
They're in the book.
That's law.
That's law.
Can it change last year?
That's law. The United States, any person with a US indicia, you heard about that? An address,
Any ties to the
born,
US at
ties
all?
to US, you have a balance, 1 million and over, report them to us.
Yep.
You have no choice.
Because I'm gonna be talking taxes.
Right. CRS says, wherever you reside, you must pay taxes. If you are an individual and your account is 250,000 or more, report it.
That's only if you have American citizens. I mean,
No,
not-
this is American. This is everybody else here that the Bahamas has signed an agreement with. And if you are a company with a balance over $1 million, you must report it. So you're reporting not just the name of the person, you're reporting their name, their balances of their securities, all of it. So here,
I don't have it in every case.
huh? What? That's the law.
And I said I don't have it in
I
every
think
case.
that's come on
What you mean?
2 years
I
ago.
don't have it in every case. Because if, alright,
Yeah.
let's say,
Yeah.
2007.
if I have the money,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I'm known to deduct taxes, but I'm making all of this money. But I giving you as the government money to say, keep me under wraps. You think
No,
they
the
can really
financial,
go
the
after you?
financial institutions have an obligation by law.
Okay. I just see loopholes in it, sorry.
How?
Because you have, to me, when you talk about
If your
preservation-
account, if your account at a certain balance, at a certain time, it has to be reported. And you surely do not want to lose your license for one client.
The bank still,
Say it's print on the
You don't
board.
see it. It goes.
Um,
It automatically just goes. Whatever country you say you are a resident of, and the Bahamas has an agreement with that country, it goes. All your information just goes. And then when it gets to that country, the country looks to see what did you report in their end. And if they see there's a difference, then they write back here. And they're gonna write a letter and say, so and so is a client of yours and so, and we need particulars. And they face either going to jail or jail and paying fines. Because they have not paid their taxes.
go get your check.
Go get your chip. So you see, so internationally, they're saying that this whole duty of confidentiality in offshore centers is eroding. Because it now has to be disclosed automatically, not just by a request. It's automatic disclosure.
Many companies have their system is set that already doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
Once the client closes those forms,
Yeah, that's it. And whenever they give you the cutoff period, which is normally the 31st of July, whatever balances fall within this category, and then you pick the criteria for the balances that they want as at that period, and then you select the countries where it's supposed to go. And its information is gone. Now what we need now is for the Bahamas to now have double treaties where Bahamians that have balances in other countries across the world will come back.
Yeah, I think we need that.
There you go.
That's what we need. And then we'll find out where our money is.
We need that, like yesterday.
We do?
In Switzerland.
You're not lobbying it for it, are you?
Secretly.
Secretly? So, let's look at a question.
So Ms. Archie, eventually the money you have abroad, you have to come back.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's just getting over the hump now and trying to meet the international requirements before you do the double treaties. Because in order to implement a double treaty, you gotta have a taxation regime, which we don't have yet. So by the time they introduce the income tax, sin tax, then they should have a regime in place to go out and get the rest of the monies that's missing. What's this mumbling now?
Minimum wage need to raise.
We just did that.
When they did it, 2013, $210.
Yeah, that's a good figure.
And VAT is how much?
And we on par with the United States.
Remember, VAT is what? What is VAT?
What do you mean with
What is VAT?
VAT?
Uh-huh, and the purpose of it is? Pay expenses of the country.
Yeah,
And what are you taxed on?
Not everything.
Besides, yeah, what you consume, it's consumption. I still see plenty fat people.
That
Okay.
doesn't mean, that's very generous. That doesn't mean
People
they,
people are still buying as usual,
that doesn't mean they're eating a lot.
That's not nice.
That doesn't mean they're eating a lot.
but people are still spending
That's not nice.
a lot.
Especially the restaurant.
I was
15%
smart.
was 12%, oh my gosh.
People are still spending. Have you seen any change in the behavior of Bahamians?
Yeah.
No. Bamboo Shack sell up long line, they just buy it.
They just buy and they just go into the bank.
The same customers from Baghdad, the same customers there. Let everybody on the floor bamboo.
Yeah, because that doesn't.
You know how much a breast snack is?
Yeah.
How much a breast snack is? Almost $8.
$8, yeah.
What?
And breast snack used to be what? $4.55?
Yeah.
I
Doesn't
saw
anyone
that.
want to come
Yeah.
sell it for $4?
You really don't.
That too?
Bougie.
But I'm saying it's on consumption. They have to. They're gonna have no choice.
But I mean,
Consistent.
It's a balancing effect. If you raise that, then you're gonna have people saying they can't employ us. The salary is too high, so they're not gonna raise it. It's up to the employer to say, based on your skills, you need to be paid more, but they're not gonna keep increasing that. No one's gonna come here to do business. You see, so it's an offset. That's why I say you don't count VAT in, because VAT has to do with consumption. You buy 5 shirts, but do you really need 5 shirts? That's the question.
Cost of living, salary.
It's too high.
Too high. That's why they pull out a lot of stuff that's being done locally.
Right.
And elsewhere in the Caribbean.
So because she is here, and let's just say she has her master's degree. No, she don't have a master's.
I have a doctor's.
Say no, you have a bachelor's degree,
Okay.
right? You have 15 years experience. Be paying you this.
a year?
55K?
It's no money.
I'm just saying,
For 15 years, I mean, wrong.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, 50.
but I could go overseas, and I could pay her.
Masters, yeah.
I'm not paying you.
Yep.
That's what we up against,
That's what we up against for sure. And it's gonna get worse.
and it's gonna get worse.
with the 2 years for experience,
Yeah,
they pay you 25,000 with a master's.
That's what happened?
What is
yes.
that?
Not the nursing though.
Now,
Nursing? Trinidad.
When nursing-
number
yeah,
one,
nursing
number
making money.
one, the country-wise,
Countrywide, yeah.
cost of living,
Cost of
lower.
You mean America?
No, in the region.
Oh,
That's why the business is moving to the region.
We don't talk to things in the region. Something
You want, okay, so the cost of living here is high, right? Food, whatever. If you want clothes, where you go?
Panama.
You go on the plane, you ain't going to Panama, some of them things don't fit.
Yeah, they don't fit, they for
They don't fit.
They for slim people.
Here,
They for bony people.
here, they have their own cloth. They make things.
You mean Cuba?
No, don't have to be Cuba, could be any one of those countries. They make their own stuff. Here they eat a lot of natural stuff. Here you
Where is here?
important.
Where is here? Where is here?
Anywhere.
Anywhere to other countries.
Other countries in the region.
It's different. Everything you have, you import.
Other third world countries. Yeah.
Everything you have, you import. And you're not importing,
The chips here.
the cheaper.
Or the stump.
If these people go to the United States, unless they're in the upper echelon, if they're going to buy a pair of shoes, where do they go? Or they go to
Outlets.
right? Or the outlets. Where you going?
I just get outlets too, man.
But you ain't going to the one they going to. Because what's the average price you pay for a pair of shoes at outlet? Average price.
Pair of shoes.
Uh-huh.
You gotta see, you gotta turn for brand.
They're not into brand. That's the difference.
DJ Mark.
They're not gonna spend no more than this.
7 to 10 what?
That's right.
7 to 10 what?
All the
Dollars.
shoes.
They
What
will
shoes?
not.
Look at this.
They're not into brand.
The other people.
You want but you want this.
No, but what shoe costs $10?
You can.
What shoe costs $10?
They're not looking for brand.
Just record it.
That's why I said the other people.
Exactly, $7 to $10.
I know, I'm just
You
saying.
want a little 25,
Yeah.
and then you spending
You will probably
too much.
75 on your.
That's
But
too
then you
much.
spend for, see, she's saying that's too much.
$25 is too much to spend on shoes?
They're not gonna spend.
For Christ's sake, them shoes falling in the holes.
You gotta be quality to you.
For shoes?
They're not gonna spend
No,
that.
she's saying 25 is too much for
It's
shoes.
too much. They're not gonna spend that.
How you know?
I know.
Where you will buy
I
shoes
know.
$25 in some shop.
I know.
You don't mind no $25 shoes.
See right there. No, but I'm saying, but that is what they do. You see the difference? That's what we're up against. Yes.
And they grab
That's
it
their
back.
currency, not US
No,
currency.
this is what I just said. When they go to the United States, this is what they're spending. They're not spending what you're spending.
You spend nothing. Marshall.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Steve Marshall.
When they go, they get you will go for that number, but that's the number they're going for.
I've seen shoes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, they're the price.
Because they go into the outlets, but they get
They're getting this right. You're going to go for this voice, and then you're looking at this number.
No.
They're not looking at this period.
Go for what I'm saying.
I'm telling you, Uncle Claire.
They don't
You
know.
gotta get at least one.
No,
They go on the terms.
no, no.
Maybe it's go
So
with
you see what I'm
deals
saying?
when
It's
they
the
go
difference.
There's a boss here.
So they're not gonna pay you this.
Everyone who make it, you make it.
I know.
What?
Everyone who make it, you make it. We ain't nothing. I ain't nothing.
That's what we are.
Exactly. We go in for deals and we go away.
No, I know you're looking for deals, but I know you ain't gonna pick these up. That's my whole point.
You right. I ain't gonna lie.
I pick up shoes for $4.
I
Not
told
that
you
low.
$3.
Not that low.
I ain't gonna lie.
You've never bought those shoes for $4?
Old Navy.
You don't give a flea
Yeah, hear what she say?
That's
Flip
a
flop.
flea market.
Some
She lost the fight. It's fine. It's lost the
So again, it comes back to the same thing.
There's always
Huh?
Look at them good.
My baby shoes.
So the essence of the story is you're pricing yourself out of the market.
Right.
How you mean? Explain.
I just explained that to you.
Oh, okay. That's the gist.
Yes, it is now.
If a friend hangs
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
even though that does not gonna do anything, but it's not gonna
Put
hang
in the
it. She
tray.
said, we can't bring it back. I don't want you to bring it back. I need my discount. Okay, the best way you do is tell no, I need 12.
You see what I could do? 12% off, thanks. I need to bring it back.
So you will be one I'm something with the trash. They give a trash to follow the thing.
What?
Yeah, that's nice too.
Yeah.
Don't mind them, it was alright.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they said.
No way.
That's here too, man. There's someone no good stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Use something cases.
Decided.
Use decided cases where applicable.
A client of yours has asked you some questions regarding his wife's account, which he was a joint account holder 2 years ago. Discuss whether you're obligated to provide this information and why.
No.
See how you always answer a question? What did I tell you from day one? Do not answer a question
Yes or no.
yes or no.
Okay.
Not in contract law.
Was there an offer?
Use what cases?
No.
Exactly. That's the only way we learn.
Miss Archer, what
Yes.
does that say? Use what cases?
Decided cases where applicable.
Clayton's case.
No.
No, you're supposed to be a doctor.
How you gonna answer
Are you
this?
serious?
Huh?
I ain't seen no
Which
decided
question?
cases applicable.
Say what?
Which questions are, what are the questions he's asking?
He wants information.
Sure, no.
Yeah, common sense is a no, but you don't answer it with a no.
Would it be Barclays?
That's why I
Oh,
asked.
sure, no.
Okay, come Cohen, start. Come Cohen.
It ain't Bank of Barclays, right?
Oh, and deal
Let's go Cohen.
That's the Turner versus National.
Okay, so you start by saying, what is the duty of a bank
Okay.
with regard to confidentiality?
Pardon the term here versus national law.
No, you start by saying the bank has a duty to its customer, duty of confidentiality to its customer.
Okay.
I was looking.
And do we then say he's no longer a customer?
Hold on, no. Which is enshrined in Bahamian legislation, section 19, BTCRA.
Now,
Yes, we just went through all of this just now.
I ain't gonna know that.
That's not like bad. I am very bad.
What?
That's like in Bahamas, yeah.
In Bahamian legislation, section 19 of the Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act. So the first thing you have to do is state what is the law. So we have the common law, and then we have the statute.
Okay.
There are 4 exceptions.
that's the disclosure in bank's interest.
Compulsion
Yes.
law.
Banks interest, yeah.
The
All of those.
conflict
Public
interest.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
The last one again.
So wouldn't the question be a former
the
client or a
permission from the
third party?
client or whatever.
Hmm?
A former client or
Third party bank.
Access reasonable.
not a client, he's no longer a client. Right?
He's no
He's
longer on
not,
that account.
He's no longer on the
that
account.
So,
He's still
anything,
Okay,
client.
so now you need to apply this.
He's
To
still a
this.
client? He's still a client.
is he, it doesn't say
It
if he's still a
doesn't.
client, it doesn't.
Well, he could be still be a client, but he ain't a client on that
On
account.
that account.
Yeah,
So now
I
you
don't
need
even
to
know.
apply this to that. What are you gonna say next?
Going to say, the information cannot be disclosed to Mr. because. Oh, you waiting on me to finish?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's
You getting this?
not, he's not. And he goes for. He's not. The information is not being disclosed under the, what is it?
Compulsion of law.
Compulsion of law in the bank's interest. In public interest or the permit. I
Okay.
can't remember how you have a word, but the permission of the client, right?
So the request
It's not made.
by my client
Must be denied.
does not fall
Under
Within
that criteria.
the four exceptions.
Right.
My client is not a party to the contract between the bank and his wife, as he is no longer on the account. Therefore, I am not at liberty to disclose any information on his wife. You see that? And the question is gone.
See, right there over there.
Parts of confidentiality.
So after you wrong.
Duty of bank with regards to confidentiality was established in the case of Tonya versus National Provincial and in England. In the Bahamas legislation, section 19.
You need to write it.
Section 19.
You got it, right?
Alright.
You have it?
Hold on, I read it.
BTC. These are four,
There are four exceptions to the duty. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever you get a question on confidentiality, you have to set up what is the law.
Every time.
From now on, every question you have to set up what is the law.
So we finished with, was there a contract?
No,
We just
listen to what I'm saying. Every question going forward, you have to set out what is the law. This one we did on the duty of confidentiality. If I had one with check forgery,
Then you have to find them.
you have to find the case that goes with forgery, and you set out, this is what the case states. This is what, then you tie to that,
Answer the question.
what is either the rights or duties of the bank, or the rights and duties of the customer. Because you could be advising the bank, or you could be advising the customer. That's why I started with that today. You must know the difference between the two in your head. Bank versus customer.
You could read the last line.
So what you do is you take a card now, and you put bank on the front, put rights and duties, and then flip it to the back and put clients, so you know them out of your head. Because you gotta advise one of the two. What happened to you? Why you holding your head?
What say 20
There's a lot of information to read
20
now.
versus.
Because this ain't open book test, right, to find out.
No, but I'm saying if you start tonight by writing out what we just did on the board today, on one side of your flashcard or paper, put bank, rights, duties. On the back side, put client, rights, duties. Say them every day in your head, you will know.
I have to work
I could understand.
Why are you working?
because I am exercising these rights and then I can be spitting rights out to the client.
So, we did confidentiality today.
What did I
So,
say?
what?
Enshrined in Bahamas.
Enshrined in Bahamian legislation, section 19, Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act.
And what? Which in?
Yes.
I'm too young for this.
I say my client is not a party. You come up close to see you will see that.
It's not a pod.
Party.
Oh,
I say enshrined.
Don't forget, remember, banking law is based on contract law. In contract, you have two parties to a contract.
Because we're in Bahamas.
not a party to the contract, that's both.
My client is not a party to the contract between the bank and his wife, as he is no longer on the account. Therefore, I am not at liberty to divulge any information on his wife. So you would already settled the law. Because based upon this, you've already said here that the request by my client does not fall within any of the 4 exceptions. So if you already said no here, but you're just applying it to the scenario. Same way you did contract law questions.
These are
Examples of exceptions.
These are there are 4 exceptions to the duty of confidentiality.
And BTCRA means buying some trust.
Companies Regulations Act, Section 19.
They put your-
You do what?
No, they could put you on
No,
Oh.
because that's just gibberish on the spot.
There's no, what? Did you hear what she said to me? That's what she called my handwriting of gibberish.
Right, he is no longer.
My client is not a part, where are you?
That's right, my client is not a party to the contract between the bank and his wife.
Mhm.
He is no longer.
My client is not a party to the contract between the bank and his wife, as he is no longer on the account.
on the account.
What that's
Therefore,
How much points for a question like this?
15 to 20 points.
So that answer will give us that 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, you write it over before.
Okay.
I
You give a little snipping on what attorney said.
At liberty.
Yep, it's in the books. You don't have to look it up, it's right there.
So we can book in the exam.
No, okay, go ahead.
divulge.
The request of my client does not fall.
Is it
Yeah, over
divulge?
there.
Disclose.
Yeah, that's up here, that's up here.
Yeah, but I.
Oh, the request by my client does not fall within the 4 exceptions.
That's what that say?
See?
Let me take a picture of
That's
this.
W/I.
Uh-huh, with it. Mhm.
Cause I don't know what you write.
I'm sorry.
Any
Who's
info
the
on his
doctor?
wife.
That's ANJ. That's
Where?
That's why,
Where's she?
no,
This is, I
the
mean,
bottom line.
This?
I mean,
This? Therefore, I am not at liberty to divulge any information on his wife. Every word is right there.
There she is.
What you want to know?
No, I know.
Or disclose, divulge, all same thing.
Does not fall within the 4 exceptions.
Cause that's disclosed.
Yeah, that's disclosed, it could be disclosed, divulged. That's it, I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay? So,
hold on.
no excuse. No excuse when time for the final exam. Oh, this is so much.
So when you have
Every
grades for
night
class, that may determine that
and the
final.
final.
How much percentage was the return?
40%.
40, uh-huh.
All of that,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and you won't mark on the curve?
So that
So
A.
so that A you got?
Yeah,
Very
no
great for
class.
that. Wow.
What about class attendance?
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
that's something for that.
Participation,
Participation.
dress,
But you
presentation?
know,
No.
I speak in average class.
So far, let me tell you how participation works to me. Participation doesn't mean just
If we
being here.
answer
I
questions,
write on
Answer
the
questions,
board.
so everybody has been participating.
I write on your
How
board.
much? Just 10%.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody
But
has
at
been
least you know you're
participating.
getting 0.
yeah.
It was wrong.
I can't believe everything you
I
hear
only
for the first
joking,
time
man.
you
I
hear.
only joking.
Alright? So go home, read chapter 4, write out your cue card or put it on a sheet of paper, with bank in the front, client on the back, put it in your mind,
I need some key cards.
and then look at the duty of confidentiality. Look at your cases that go with the 4 exceptions. Now, I could change this question whereby the request falls into one of the exceptions. We got that?
Yeah.
I could change the question
As he is.
where the request comes into one of the exception.
That's it.
No, put the same question on the test.
So,
It won't be that easy.
regarding
She was watching me.
So that
confidentiality, you must always say the
The 4 exceptions,
exceptions.
yes. You got that?
So I take the picture.
But don't take the picture and go with your right now.
No, I could write it, I write what you write.
Okay.
What I say is his wife
Where?
Oh Lord, as
Between the bank and his wife, as he is no longer on the account. Good night. Therefore, I am not at liberty to disclose any information on his wife. See how easy that was in setting it up?
Yeah.
It's not difficult. You are making it difficult.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.
Just give us a little passing grace.
Okay?
I'm not at liberty to disclose